Welcome back to GP Outdoors. I'm Gord Potter. We got a lot of snow earlier on in the week, a lot more than you see right now. But then the temperature went positive for the last couple of days. Only about 7 inches. But she's wet, heavy, and compacted. It's packing snow. That means we're in for a long, slow drive up that driveway. Hope you'll stick around. It's going to be a long afternoon. It's going to be a long mile. And one of the first questions I always get from folks is whether or not I run my implements or my front mount snowblower at full RPM. And I do. In fact, any of the implements I own, whether it's a chipper on the back or it's the front mount blower, if the operating manual says that it's to be run at 540 RPM, I run it at full 540. In the case of the blower, it requires the mid PTO, and the mid PTO runs at 2500 RPM, not 540. So just to give you a bit of a show here, I'm sitting at idle right now. For those B2601 owners, the maximum RPM on this LX2610 is only about 2600 RPM. That's on the engine. Whereas on your B2601, your maximum RPM, if I remember correctly, was 2900 or 3000. So for me here, let's just engage the mid PTO for the blower. There she goes. And I'm going to change my display to the RPM on the mid PTO. So right now I'm sitting at 1000, and I am of course going to bring this right up to full engine RPM, which is going to get me to a full 2500 on the RPM on the mid PTO. There we go. And now we're ready to blow snow. And certainly, especially in this heavy stuff, I am not going to run at a lower RPM because I think I need all the power I can get. We're in low gear, we're in 4-wheel drive. Let's go for a drive. Wow. You can just see how heavy that snow is from the way it's coming out of the chute. She's only shooting her out about 20-25 feet, but take a look at the chunks of snow coming out. Yep, it's heavy and it's wet. Another question I get from folks is what I mean when I tell you that I'm trying to manage my RPMs on the tractor. It's an important piece of advice that I learned from our good friend Tractorman 44. As you start to load, for lack of better words, you're loading the blower with snow. In other words, the faster or the more you push the pedal down to get more speed or miles per hour, the blower is trying to ingest the snow in front of it. And if you're starting to ingest too much snow, you'll see that your engine RPM starts to drag. And that's because you're loading the tractor with snow. The blower is trying its best to process it, but when it's thick and heavy like this, or it's really deep, you need to drive a lot slower. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to speed up right now. See what's happening to my RPMs on the tractor? It's because everything is under strain. So now I lift off on my speed, or in other words, I lift off on my accelerator pedal, and you'll see the engine RPMs come back. And you'll also notice now that I'm still processing a lot of snow, but even the sound or the whine of the engine changes dramatically. So when I'm paying attention, I always try my best to keep the engine RPMs somewhere between about 2200 and the 2600 max. If it starts to drop below 2000, not only can I hear it dramatically in the change in the engine or the sound of the engine, but also in the fact that I know that I'm overloading or potentially overloading the tractor or the blower because it's trying desperately to process or ingest that snow, and I'm pushing it into the snowbank far too fast, or at least faster than it's able to process it. I hope that made sense. If not, leave me some comments again underneath the video and I'll try to answer. know you're all dying to say it because so many of you have been telling me this for a long time. And that's that I should be spraying some kind of a Teflon coating or something inside this box to stop the snow from packing up in here. But the honest truth is I never have a problem except when we've got really wet, heavy packing snow, which doesn't honestly happen that often. Usually the snow is either powdery or icy, or we end up in a position where it's so wet it's become slushy. But yeah, absolutely today might be an option. I'm waiting though. Courtney on Good Works Tractors has been testing out, I think, 4 different types of sprays for the inside of the blower box, and I'm waiting to see the results of those tests. Then maybe I'll give it a try.
I told you that snow was heavy, but I got half of her done. I hope you enjoyed sticking around with me up the driveway today. I'm just gonna run her back down to the cabin and shut her down for the night. I've got a date with Husky Bob and Guy at Guy's workshop for a cup of coffee. Husky Bob told me the ice machine's already on. A few of you had also mentioned that you wanted to know whether or not the LX2610 was able to blade and blow at the same time. So you'll see that on the next video. Have a wonderful week with your families. Please be kind, and I'll see you again right here on GP Outdoors. Cheers.